Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and today, well, I've been fiddling with these again. I did a video about these a while back when I first got them. What they are, or rather what it is, it's an XMOD display monitor. Now I picked two of these up off eBay, dirt cheap, sold as faulty. Someone did say to me that they were used in a tank. I don't think that's true, actually. I think there's far more likely that these were possibly used on board a ship or something like that. For the very fact that they run on 240 volt mains. They're obviously designed to go in something, you know. They're not like something I don't think there's something you'd have on like a land-based whatever. Again, I don't think they'd be fitted in a vehicle because they're 240 volts. There's no 12 or 24 volt input on them. That's what's making me think ship. I doubt aircraft, because I think I'm right in thinking that aircraft still run like 400 volts, 400 hertz, 100 volts, 400 hertz, something like that. So I'm wondering if these have come off a ship. Anyway, last time I fiddled with these, I got to the point where I managed to get one of them to produce just a very grainy, poor black and white image feeding composite in. But I've had another fiddle with them, and I've made a little bit of progress with them, and I found something out that's possibly quite interesting with them. I'll take this one away. I've got the other one that I've got actually stripped down to its bare parts, so we can take a look. Let's get that out of the way. I've got it all. Basically, it's all wired up here as it is in the case, but you know, just out. Oops, just out on my bench. So we've got the screen itself. I mean, these screens. I'll just get you zoomed in. Oops. There we go. The screen itself, these are an NEC VGA panel, and I've looked them up. They're actually quite expensive. I mean, second hand, these panels are selling for £70–80. New, they're a few £100. It's a VGA panel. It's capable of up to 800 by 600 resolution. The driver board that these have actually set up with will only display up to 640 by 480, I've discovered, but the panel is actually capable of 800 by 600. I presume, well, I know with what it's actually being used for, you only needed 640 by 480. Basically, what we've got is a very basic scan converter here. Now this one, the composite side of it's dead. I can't get anything to work on the composite side of it. But the RGB side of it, it's not right, but I'll just show you what I've got up to now. Let me just find where that cable's gone. Basically what I've done, see, when I was fiddling with them before, all I was doing was trying to see if I could get the composite side to work. I didn't actually bother with the RGB side. But I just made that little breakout out. So basically all we've got is just a SCART connector to RGB and sync, because it does take a standard sync in and then RGB. Can't see any provision for it to take separate H and V syncs in. But what I've done is I've just got the SCART cable from my Amiga here. And if we connect that up, and we power the monitor up, a little switch down here. You should see, yeah, the lights come on the actual display there, and you see the monitor flick on. Now this is as far as I could get last time. I couldn't get it to do any more than just that. But if I power the Amiga on now, hopefully, if we're lucky, I don't think there's anything in the Amiga for it to be trying to boot. Ah, there we go. You can see we've actually got the Amiga displaying on it. Now, it doesn't display very well. It's as though we've not got enough. I mean, the screen's nice and bright, but it looks like you're going to return all these all the way up. Just a minute, where was I? You return everything all the way up. Still don't think we're going to get a usable picture out of it. Now, what I'm wondering is this expecting a higher level signal, really? So I've got brightness and contrast cranked all the way up on everything there. Yeah, we'll go any higher. And even if I switch my lights off. Oh, hang on, that's not the right script. That's the one. The picture's not brilliant, but I mean, we've got a stable image there. Well, nearly stable. If you notice some flickering on it, it's not right. I mean, there could still be a fault on this board, but we are displaying on a VGA screen off the Amiga there. So this is basically, it is a scan converter. This board, it's the power supply for the monitor, but it is actually a basic scan converter. I'm wondering whether I can possibly do something and actually make a scan converter out of it to be able to use it with a different VGA monitor on the Amiga. I mean, it's just a possibility. What I've got as well, I've got this. I was playing with this as well. I completely forgot about this until I started messing with this. I've got this thing. This is something I got from work years ago when it became obsolete. We used to have a projector at work called Big Bertha, and it was an old, I think it was a digital projection projector. It was huge. It was, I mean, it was first generation. There wasn't even high def. I think the maximum it could do was 800 by 600, but it was like first generation 10,000 lumen projector. It took 4 people to lift the bloody thing, and it only had a VGA input. Well, no, it didn't just have a VGA input. It had a VGA input, and then I can't remember what it's called now off the top of my head, but basically it's the same the same signal as VGA split over like 5 or 7 BNC connections. They were the only inputs that the projector had on it. And then we had occasions where we wanted to like connect a DVD player or something else to it, and we ended up with, well, we had this thing. They had this before I even worked with the company, and it's a RGB to plasma VGA version 2. And basically this is actually, it's a scan converter. I mean, this was designed to work with very early plasma screens, and like I said, we used it at work to work with very old digital projector. But what I've found, it won't work with all VGA monitors, flat panel VGA monitors, but I'll just connect it up here and I'll show you what I've got it doing so far on this little monitor. So we'll shut the Amiga down for a second and we'll power off this bit of military kit, and we'll disconnect the monitor from it. We'll get that out of the way. We'll have to power that back up because, like I said, as well as being a scan converter there, I'll just put the light on for you. As well as that being a scan converter, it's also, excuse me, it deals with the power supply as well. I think it's just a pass-through and it's got a bit of filtration on it. You've got a basic 12-volt power supply there that feeds into this board. It's got some very interesting 12-volt to 5-volt step-downs there. They're not, I think they're actually switching step-down converters. This thing dates from about 2004, so it's, you know, it's getting on in age. But anyway, basically, yeah, so we've got a power supply section in it, but it basically does just pass through the 12 volts straight through to the monitor there. But we'll disconnect the monitor from that board there. I've got a VGA cable here, because it's the wrong gender. So we can just use a VGA cable to change genders. Plug that in there, and we'll connect this up in the same way. So we'll plug the VGA cable in there, and we disconnect that from there. Obviously we're not going to have any audio, this just has an audio output through it. I'm not going to bother connecting any speakers or anything. But it does allow you to get your audio out from a SCART there, before it breaks obviously the VGA out. It runs on, it's actually 240 volt, you don't need a transformer for it, so we can connect some power up to it. I'll switch the this board back on just to power up the monitor. Like I said, we're not actually going to use that connection, we're going to use this this board here. So that's the monitor powered up. I'll switch the Amiga back on. And hopefully you'll see it fire up in a sec. You can see that the screen's a damn sight brighter there already. I said hopefully, there we go. We actually get quite a nice, it's still got this flicker in it though. I'll just zoom you in, see if you can make out that flicker. Look at the screen. So there's a very slight flicker to it. Now I must admit, I've loaded a few games up on it, and you can't really notice that flicker when you're playing a game. You only seem to notice it on like the boot screen here, and if you actually load the computer into Workbench, it's quite noticeable. But the actual graphics are fantastically crisp. Let me just I'll stick my USB. Oops, that's a Toshiba T1000 just fallen over. Fortunately, didn't. Try to stretch over and get the USB stick in the side of the Amiga. Right, there we go. Right, hopefully this will boot into Workbench, and you'll see just quite how crisp the image is. It's just a shame about the flicker. I need to see if I can figure out how to perhaps get rid of this flicker. There we go. Move that. As you can see, that is really nice, and it's a lovely crisp image. It's far better than you get, well, definitely far better than you get off composite, but I think it looks better than you just get off a standard SCART. It just seems nicer and crisper. It's just, like I say, it's just a real shame I've got this this flicker in the background. Now I have tried I've tried this scan converter on another monitor. In fact, where is it? We can give it a quick try. No, it weren't that one. It was that one. Oops. Sorry about that. I did try it on. In fact, we'll give it a quick go now. Look at me. This is just a scrap monitor I literally picked out of the bin somewhere. I think we can do this by just shutting that down. I'll pinch its power. I'll pinch the. Let's take the video out of there. And see what we get on this. Now this won't work properly. It'll show you. We can get it to work on a different screen as well. It's not just that little 7-inch VGA screen. I mean, this is a fairly modern. What is it? AOC. Fairly modern generic monitor. This will should be capable of much higher resolutions. But let's see. You see, It works really nicely on that monitor. There is no flicker or anything on it. The only problem is this. I can't figure out how the hell to get rid of that. Because I mean, that's the only thing that's a real shame. That's a really, really nice image we're getting on there. But like I said, I've got absolutely no way I can figure out how to get rid of that input not support. So otherwise, I'd be using that monitor and this little this scan converter with possibly my 600 or at least my 1200 when I get that set back up again. So look like quite a nice sharp monitor to use with whichever Amiga I decide I'm going to use them more of, basically. So if anyone can figure out how I could possibly get rid of that, I mean, I think it's got paint on it, so I literally picked this out of a skip. It's got paint on it or something, but I think that would clean up. Or we'll just, but I'll say it seems to completely get rid of them lines. What I'd like to try and do, let's get that out of the way. But I've got to just get a, I haven't got a gender changer. Well, I should have a gender changer, but more importantly, I can't find any of them. Or a gender bending lead, that'd do the same job. Basically, a male on one end and a female on the other. Rather than, I think that's a male to male that we're using. Because what I'd like to try and do is connect that scan converter up to a different monitor, but obviously the plug there is the wrong gender at the moment. I was thinking about trying to actually make one. I got as far as soldering a lot of wires on, and it was really, really hot. It's cooled down a little bit today, but I got that far into it, and I was so hot I gave up. I think I have got some proper gender changer somewhere, and we'll try running that on a different monitor and see whether that works better. Anyway, I thought I'd just do this quick little updatey video on messing about with these things. I mean, that's quite... If I can get that working properly and get rid of that out of error message. Because unfortunately, I've tried probably 6 or 7 VGA LCD panels with this. And that's as good. That's the best one I've got so far. Most of them haven't even switched on, they just won't even come out of standby. At least that one actually displays a nice image. It's just I can't get rid of that bloody out of thing error. I've had a few others that have worked, but they've got that same flicker as that's got. So I'm still going to play with this idea, like I said, because I've got that. I mean, scan converters. They're not cheap. I mean, they're not mega expensive for anything for the Amiga, but they're not dirt cheap or anything. So if I've got potentially 3 of them, because I mean I've got that board, I've got this one here, and then I've got this screen here. And what I was actually thinking was, because these are basically just VGA monitors. Like I said, they're 640 by 480 VGA monitors. If you pull off the line scan stuff, the scan converter stuff, is basically putting an alternative power supply in these and just keeping them as a little 7-inch colour VGA monitor, and then mounting the scan converter boards up in a separate box, and then possibly seeing what I can do with it. In fact, I tell you what, I might just whip out an Atari ST out, and we'll plug one of these up to an Atari ST, and we'll just have a quick play with that and see whether we get any difference. Perhaps see if we get any different lines, or even indeed if it will work with an ST. So bear with me a second. I'll just set that up. So back in a sec. Okay, and we're back, and as you can see, I've got the ST connected up to that scan converter and the VGA monitor, and there's still a flicker there, but I'll just zoom you in. There's still a flicker there, but it's nowhere near as pronounced as it was on the Amiga. I wonder. Let's just try. Well, we've got this scan converter connected up. I'll move that out of the way. Let's get that other monitor back in. big thing there, and we'll just see whether we get the same problem with the out of signal thing. But that does look reasonably usable actually on using the MOD screen. Let's give this a quick try on this, and then what we'll try the as a final thing, we'll just try it through the other scan converter, the MOD one that came in the back of that monitor. So we can't try it with a different monitor at the moment until I find a gender changer, or I finally make one, or I buy another one. But let's have a look, see. Now, oh, hang on, have I plugged everything in there? Yeah, I've got that into there, I've got that into there. No, that doesn't look like it's even going to work. No, it's not. Let's just try switching the scan converter off and back on. Is it going to have it? No, that's not displaying on there at all. Now the Amiga did, and apart from the fact we had that out of range thing on there, the image looked really good. The Atari though, like I said, I've got nothing there. I'll plug it in. And no dice. We've got so no, it won't work on that screen with the Atari, but it did with the Amiga. Like I said, apart from that out of sync thing, it did with the Amiga. That's odd. I was expecting it to at least work as well. Yeah. Right. So well, that's something we'll have to look at. So I wonder why it worked with that monitor with the Amiga, and it didn't work with that monitor with the ST. That's a bit odd. I weren't expecting that. Right, let's get that out of the way again. In fact, we don't need... Oh, yeah, in fact, we can get that out of the way for the moment. We've finished playing with that one. Just as a last curio, I just want to see whether we can get the ST to display through that MOD scan converter. It looks really quite... in fact, well, we'll have a quick squiz perhaps in that one at the end of the video. So I have to admit I've already been in it, and it looks quite interesting inside. Right, we'll connect this one back up. Make sure that's off there. Connect that back up. And connect that back into there. Oops, go on, you stay back there. Connect that back into there, like that. I can forget about that one because that's the composite input. Because I can't, on this particular board, I can't get that to do anything at all. On the other board that I've got, you can put composite in there, and you get, like I said, you get a rather poor black and white composite image on screen. So there's obviously something wrong in that part of the circuit. I don't think we've got any issues with capacitors on these because they're all like film capacitors. I can't see it. There's no well, there is some electrolytics on here, but they're just to do with the smoothing on the power supply, and they look absolutely fine. There's nothing in the actual circuit that looks like it could drift or go wrong. Let's connect this. Let's connect this up to the board anyway, and let's just see what we get on the screen. We'll power up. It's probably going to be very dim like it was on the previous one, but we'll see. We'll see if we get anything. No. So why doesn't it like... Well, let's just switch the Atari off and back on just to be on the safe side. Well, it responded to the Atari coming on. But no. It doesn't seem to like the output from the Atari. No, absolutely nothing. Not interesting. So, I mean, it seems to work with an Amiga quite, well, not perfectly, but we seem to get an output from a usable output from the Amiga. But you try it with an ST, and we don't seem to be getting anything. I just wonder if we should just quickly swap back to the Amiga just to make sure that the Amiga is still. It's not the fact that it's a dodgy ST. I'm actually using the faulty ST to do this, which I have done some work on as well. It's not quite as faulty as it used to be. Right, let's just quickly try connecting the Amiga back up. Switch the Amiga on. Get the Amiga up to it. You can see what I mean about the lines you get on the Amiga. I think it's just booting into Workbench now. But you can see, I mean, that works. So why on earth doesn't the screen, because you'd think the signal wouldn't be that different, wouldn't you? I mean, like I said, it's what I think it is that this is expected a hotter signal than the Amiga's giving out. In fact, I can't remember whether there's some resistors in here just to drop the level. I wish I had like a spec. In fact, just bear with it. I'm just going to go and get one more computer to prep. No, actually, no, I won't, because I know there's wires in that lead which are going to drop it down. What I might do is I might get I might make a lead up for like my Spectrum Plus 3, but not put the resistors in the lead so we can feed a hotter signal in, and just see whether we get a nice bright image on this doing it that way. And then it's seeing if we can perhaps just sort out this line. 'Cause it'd be really nice if I could. I mean, I have got one of those from China scan converters. You know, the fancy ones with all the menus on it and everything. And it'll take just about every video input you could possibly throw at it and convert it to VGA. And it's a nice thing and what have you. I'm in the process, and I have been for a while, of actually making it into a nice little case that's not just a bare board. But I mean, I've got 3 more scan converters here. We've got that one, which is a definite nice possibility to do something with, and we have these two MOD ones. So I would like to play with them, because I've got loads and loads of old VGA monitors. Are for nothing. You can get them everywhere. These could be quite a nice, nifty way of using them with some older systems. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now. It was just like a little bit of an updated video, just to show you what I've been fiddling and faffing with during this ridiculously hot weather that we've been having over the last few days. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. So, thanks for watching, and goodbye.